The best product leaders aren't just product managers. They are part psychologists, part economists, part strategists. They see the world through a lens of first principles. But how do you move from theory to practice? How do you stop being a victim of chaos and start being the architect of your own outcomes? This is the Sovereign PM, the podcast that deconstructs the ideas of product strategist Schwarzkopf to give you a more powerful way to think and lead. It's time to own your outcomes. Let's begin.
Okay, picture this. You walk into the Q3 planning meeting, right?
Yeah.
And the air, it's already thick with something. You can almost taste it. Call it anticipation, maybe dread, but it's definitely there.
Oh, yeah. Palpable.
Totally. Head of sales is leaning forward, already tense, pushing hard for that one feature, the one they swear is going to close that huge deal, the one that makes the whole quarter.
Silver bullet feature. Always.
Exactly. And then across the table, marketing's gesturing, all urgent, saying they absolutely need resources, like right now for a new integration. It's for their big make or break campaign.
Can't launch without it, of course.
And then quietly, but firmly, from the corner, the engineering-led pipes up. They're advocating for a major refactor. Critical tech debt, they say, has to be paid down now, or, the whole system might just collapse later.
And you feel it instantly, don't you? That unspoken thing hanging in the air.
Mm-hmm.
The tension, it's not just about different priorities clashing. It's a symptom of something bigger. The room stops feeling like a meeting room and more like a battlefield. Everyone there is locked in this intense fight for their piece of the pie. And they see that pie dev time, budget, roadmap space as completely fixed, finite, unchangeable.
Right. And in that world, the math is brutal. For one person to get what they need, someone else has to lose out. It's pure zero sum.
Played out under the lovely fluorescent lighting of the conference room every single quarter.
Exactly. And look, this isn't just another tricky meeting. This is what we're really digging into today. The fixed pie fallacy.
Yeah.
In full effect. And honestly, having seen this play out so many times, I think it's maybe the most toxic, the most pervasive, and definitely the most counterproductive mindset in product development, especially when you get to leadership levels.
It really is insidious.
It takes smart, well-meaning people, colleagues you respect, and it just twists things. Suddenly, without anyone quite realizing how it happened, they're adversaries. Strategic planning turns into this draining war over scraps.
It's so deeply baked into how organizations think, often subconsciously. And for a long time, let's be honest, standard advice, what many of us learned coming up,
Was that our job as product managers becoming leaders was basically to be the best possible referee in that game. Slice up that fixed pie fairly expertly.
Make the tough calls, divide the resources.
Right. But that's exactly where the thinking goes wrong, that referee stance. It fundamentally limits you. You end up just managing constraints, shuffling deck chairs, instead of actually unlocking potential.
And that is a huge pivot we're exploring today. Because the real job, the true job of a product leader, it isn't about meticulously carving up some static pie that already exists. It's way more radical. It's almost subversive. Our mission, where we have real leverage, is to change the whole game. It's about convincing everyone in that tense room, hey, wait a second, if we actually work together differently with the different mindset, we can bake a much, much bigger pie for everyone.
Growing the pie, not just dividing it. That's the core idea we're unpacking. This whole deep dive is about that fundamental shift in thinking and, crucially, the practical negotiation-inspired techniques that let seasoned pros, heads of product, founders, VPs get way beyond just allocating resources and start creating exponential value.
Exactly. We're talking about moving from that reactive mode, where you're constantly defending your little slice of the pie driven by scarcity,
Right.
to being proactive, focused on abundance, actively looking for ways to expand the possibilities for the whole organization. We'll be using principles that might sound like they belong in, like high-stakes diplomacy or deal-making.
Yeah, negotiation tactics.
But they're incredibly powerful tools for product leadership, really transformative in any kind of company.
Okay, so let's really unpack this. We've got the scene. The Q3 planning nightmare, the tension, the scarcity vibe. That's the fixed pie fallacy raw. But how does this scarcity mindset, this deeply ingrained thing, show up for senior leaders day to day, beyond just fighting over features?
Oh, it's everywhere, isn't it? It's not just about feature battles. It really permeates the whole organizational culture. You see it really starkly in budget cycles.
Yeah.
Departments hoard their money, they protect their line items like it's the last scrap of food, instead of pooling resources for common goals, for things that cut across teams.
Right, my budget versus your budget.
Exactly. You see it in headcount debates too. Hiring for Team A is seen by Team B as like a direct threat to their future hiring plans. It's always framed as a loss for someone else.
Zero sum again.
Always. And it creeps into strategic planning too. The focus immediately snaps to what can't be done, what has to be sacrificed, what we have to cut. Instead of asking, what could we unlock if we approach this differently, if we combined forces? The baseline assumption, often totally unspoken, is just, there isn't enough. Period.
And that scarcity thinking, it just breeds internal competition, right?
Yeah.
Which has to stifle actual innovation.
Completely. It leads to these weird suboptimal outcomes for the whole business because everyone's optimizing for their local silo, not the global picture.
And traditionally, like you said, the PM gets cast as the referee in all this. The one who gathers the demands, weighs them up against some, let's face it, often murky criteria.
Yeah. Opaque is a good word.
And then, like a benevolent dictator, decrees what gets built and what doesn't. But you're arguing this whole referee model is fundamentally busted. Why? What's the real strategic cost of playing referee?
Well, think about it. Being the referee in a zero-sum game inherently limits your ability to actually lead, to innovate, to drive real strategic change. If your main job is just dividing what's already there, you're stuck in a reactive box.
You're managing constraints, not creating possibility.
Exactly. You're managing constraints, and often you're just managing people's disappointment. The strategic cost is massive. Talented people, colleagues who should be collaborators pulling in the same direction, they end up pitted against each other.
Adversaries.
Right. Their energy, their brain power, it gets diverted from solving customer problems or building cool stuff into internal resource battles. And that constant fighting, it just kills any hope of real strategic alignment.
So the roadmap ends up being
A compromise. A patchwork of compromises.
Yeah, a Frankenstein's monster of half-baked ideas and things nobody's truly passionate about just because it was the lowest common denominator everyone could sort of agree on.
Yeah.
Instead of a bold vision to actually win, it's death by 1,000 cuts for strategy. Because every decision gets viewed through the lens of what did we lose, not what did we gain together. It's exhausting. It drains the whole organization's innovative spirit.
Exhausting sounds right. And deeply counterproductive. Like almost guaranteeing you operate below your potential. So, okay, if we reject the referee role, if we dismantle this fixed pie idea, what's the core philosophy that replaces it? How do we shift from scarcity management to abundance discovery?
This is the absolute bedrock, the first principle change. Your job as a product leader isn't managing resource scarcity. It's uncovering opportunity abundance. And look, this isn't just happy talk or wishful thinking.
Right? It's not just positive affirmations. No. It's a fundamental first principles rethink of how value actually gets created. It's realizing that combining different parts, engineering, sales, marketing, support, isn't just additive, it can be multiplicative, exponential even, if you combine them in the right way. It's about seeing the whole system, not just the pieces.
Okay, let's unpack that. Reject the fixed pie. What does that really mean for something tangible like the roadmap or the annual plan? Because let's be real, it feels finite. You've got X engineers, Y weeks, Z budget. It's so easy to see it as limited.
It's a powerful perception trap, absolutely. Because those constraints do feel incredibly real, the roadmap feels finite because we're usually stuck in these old linear ways of thinking about resource allocation. Kind of like accounting, not value creation.
Oh, okay.
But true value isn't some fixed lump sum waiting to be carved up. It's created dynamically. It emerges when you bring together different capabilities, different insights, different perspectives from all over the company in new ways, ways that solve problems you couldn't solve before.
So engineering skill plus sales insight plus marketing know-how.
Exactly. Plus customer support feedback, plus design thinking. When you integrate those things, when they work synergistically, the result can be way, way bigger than if they all just stayed in their lanes. That's systems thinking, right? The whole is genuinely greater than the sum of its parts.
Like connecting engineering capacity with a deep sales insight about one specific customer's burning need.
Yeah. You don't just get a feature request checked off. You might stumble onto a breakthrough that opens up a whole new market. And thinking this way, it's incredibly freeing. It gets you out of that constant defensive crouch, always guarding your peace. Instead, you're actively hunting for connections, for intersections where new value can just pop up.
That makes a ton of sense. It shifts your focus completely from internal fights to external opportunities. And that leads right into the next big reframe. Your stakeholder is not your enemy. This feels huge because, man, in those tense meetings, it is so easy to slip into seeing them as the opposition.
Oh, absolutely. The pressure cooker environment makes it easy.
The sales leader demanding that feature feels like they're wrecking your beautiful roadmap. The engineer pushing for the refactor feels like they're being difficult, slowing you down. It feels personal.
It really does. And we project our own stuff onto them, right? Our fear is our stress. But look, that sales leader, they're not trying to derail you personally. They're trying to hit their number. They're trying to land a deal that might impact the whole company's bottom line, maybe keep people employed.
Right. They have their own pressures.
Immense pressures. And the engineer. They're not being difficult for the sake of it. They're trying to prevent a future disaster, a massive outage that could kill customer trust, maybe even sink the product. They see a cliff ahead.
So seeing them not as opponents, but as partners.
Partners,
Yeah.
absolutely critical distinction. And more than that, they possess invaluable decentralized knowledge, intel you desperately need as a product leader. Sales knows what objections are real today. Engineering knows where the technical skeletons are buried. Support knows where customers are really hurting.
Distributed intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Tapping into that network.
Exactly. The collective knowledge across the org dwarfs what any one person or department knows. Ignoring that, you're leaving massive value untapped. So the conversation shifts. It's not, how do I defend my roadmap from you? It becomes, how do we build our best roadmap together using all these different insights? You're not just fielding requests, you're harvesting intelligence piece by piece.
Okay. And the final mindset piece, which might ruffle some feathers, especially in product circles where profit can sometimes feel like a dirty word.
Mm-hmm.
You argue, wealth is good. Talk about that, because there can be this bias, right? Like focusing on revenue is somehow less noble than just focusing on the user.
Yeah, it's a crucial point and one we need to tackle head on because that bias is real. There's this sort of romantic, almost naive idea sometimes that product is this pure thing detached from business reality. But let's be crystal clear. A successful product, one that actually generates significant revenue, significant wealth, that's not evil. It's not greedy.
It's a sign of health.
It's the strongest possible sign of a healthy value-creating system. Profit is the ultimate proof that you're solving a problem people care enough about to pay for. They value your solution enough to exchange their money for it.
It's validation.
The ultimate validation, and that wealth. It's not just numbers on a spreadsheet. It's the fuel for future innovation. It's what lets you solve more problems for more users. It lets you hire more great people, engineers, designers, researchers. Invest in R&D, build better infrastructure, secure the company's future.
So it's not profit for its own sake, but profit as an enabler.
Exactly. It builds capacity for future value creation. It's the engine that powers the next bigger pie. Without it, you actually are stuck in scarcity mode because you simply lack the means to grow your impact. Companies that don't generate wealth eventually just disappear, and then they solve problems for nobody.
That's a really powerful way to frame it. Moving it away from some moral judgment to just fundamental organizational capacity. Okay, so we've laid out the philosophy. Reject the fixed pie, see stakeholders as partners, embrace wealth creation. Now, how do we actually do this? What are the practical tools, the techniques to actively grow the pie day to day?
Right. This is where the rubber meets the road. These aren't just nice ideas. They're actionable techniques inspired by negotiation theory that really change how you operate. Let's start with number one. Know your alternative.
The BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. This isn't about threats, though, right? It's more strategic clarity, having options.
Precisely. It's not about being aggressive. It's about knowing your walkaway point, your plan B, before you even start the conversation, before you walk into that planning session, that exec review, that one-on-one. You have to know your BATNA. It's your safety net. It's your source of actual power. Not bluffing, but having a credible, viable alternative you're genuinely ready to pursue if the main path doesn't work out.
Okay, give us an example. Make it concrete.
Okay, standard scenario. You're head of product. You're pushing hard for Project Titan, big strategic bet. You think it's a 10x game changer.
High risk, high reward.
Exactly. But it'll eat the entire engineering team for a quarter, maybe more. Leadership is nervous. They see the upside, but they really see the risk, the opportunity cost. What happens if they push back and say no? Too risky.
Well, the wrong way is you've got nothing else prepared. It feels like they just shot down your baby. You get defensive.
Right. Or you try to force it, overpromise, maybe downplay the risks.
Yeah, bad idea. Damages trust. Makes you look desperate or like you didn't think it through.
Yeah.
You end up feeling like a supplicant, just begging.
Exactly. And if you have to concede without a plan B, it's usually chaos, a scramble to figure out, okay, now what? You're instantly reactive. value gets lost in that scramble.
So, the right way, the grow the pie way.
You've done the homework beforehand. You've rigorously identified and maybe even partially spec'd out a solid BATNA. Let's say your alternative is a bundle of smaller, quick win projects.
Lower risk, maybe lower immediate reward, but still valuable.
Exactly, maybe a projected 2x return combined. But they solve real immediate customer pain, much less risky. Maybe they even build some foundation for future stuff. So when leadership hesitates on Titan, you don't get defensive. You don't plead. You present a clear choice.
How does that sound?
Something like, look, I hear the concerns about Project Titan's risk and the resource commitment. Totally valid. We still believe it's our best shot at that 10x leap. However, we've also mapped out a solid alternative, pursuing these 3 smaller initiatives immediately. We project they'll deliver a reliable 2x return by hitting these specific customer pain points with much less upfront investment. So the real question for us now is, which path better aligns with our current risk appetite and strategic focus, given these 2 viable options?
Ooh, that completely changes the dynamic. You're not asking permission anymore. You're a strategic partner laying out considered choices.
You're shaping the decision landscape.
Yeah. You're moving from reacting to constraints to defining the options. It elevates the whole role. It's like applied game theory almost. You're structuring the choice to get the best organizational outcome.
Precisely. You define the parameters, not just react to them. You're not trying to win an argument. You're trying to facilitate the best decision by offering well-developed optionality. It shows foresight. It shows you're focused on the business problem, not just attached to one solution. And crucially, a strong BATNA also discourages unreasonable demands from the other side. If they know you have a good alternative, they're less likely to push you into a corner.
Okay, BATNA. Powerful. Got it. What's technique number 2 for growing the pie, especially when someone hits you with what feels like an impossible demand?
Technique 2, the friendly question mark. This is all about information gathering, but with a strategic purpose. The core idea: never assume you know what someone really wants or what problem they're really trying to solve. Your first job, always, is to gather information deeply, with genuine curiosity.
Sounds like basic active listening, but I suspect there's more to it strategically. Give us an example where it really grows the pie.
Okay, let's go back to that head of marketing. Storms in, totally stressed. We need HubSpot integration. Now, Q4 campaign lives or dies on this.
Right. Urgent demand.
The wrong way, the fixed pie reflex. Nope, sorry. Roadmap's packed for Q4. Maybe next year. Boom. Conflict. Door slammed. You defended your slice, but did you solve anything?
Nope. Just created an enemy, probably. Back to zero sum.
Exactly. The right way. The friendly question mark. You lean in, genuine curiosity, open mind. You say something like, okay, wow, sounds critical. Tell me more. What specific problem does the HubSpot integration solve for this campaign? What does success actually look like here? What metrics move? And, really important, what happens if we don't do it? What breaks?
The what happens if we don't is key. Gets past the solution to the real pain, the actual urgency.
It's vital. Because 9 times out of 10, when you ask those probing, friendly questions, you uncover the real job to be done. And let's use that framework explicitly. The job to be done isn't the feature they ask for, it's the underlying problem or aspiration.
Okay.
So maybe marketing doesn't actually need a full, deep, 2-month bells and whistles HubSpot integration with bidirectional sync and custom fields and everything, which would be a monster project.
Right, which you genuinely can't do right now.
Maybe they just need a simple way to get a specific list of qualified leads exported once for an event next week. Suddenly, that giant, impossible project
Becomes a 2-day task for an export script. Or even a manual workaround.
Exactly. Or maybe a quick CSV import into some other tool they already use. You've just uncovered a path that saves massive resources, engineering time, money, focus. That saved capacity. That's new pie you just baked.
You didn't just say no. You reframed the whole solution space by asking questions. Saved everyone time and effort. Freed up capacity for other things. It's problem decomposition fueled by curiosity.
Yeah. And it builds trust. The stakeholder feels heard even if you don't build their exact initial request. You solved their real problem efficiently. That's efficiency-driven value creation. Often, those smaller, targeted solutions are way more effective anyway.
Okay, solid. BATNA for clarity, friendly question mark for uncovering needs. Now, let's talk about reframing the conversation itself. This feels like a real art, especially when things get heated.
It absolutely is an art, and it taps right into basic human psychology. The third technique, before the but, is super simple on the surface, but incredibly powerful because of how our brains work.
Okay, I'm hooked. What's the psychology?
Simple. People instinctively focus on whatever comes after the word but. It's like it negates everything that came before it.
The but erases the praise.
Totally. You could say, that was a brilliant presentation, really an insightful, great data, but, and all they hear is the criticism coming. The but primes them for the negative, the disagreement, the problem.
Okay, so the scenario. Stakeholder says, wow, I love the vision for the new AI feature. It's super exciting, but we absolutely have to fix this critical bug for our biggest client first. They're threatening to leave. Our gut reaction is to jump on the but.
Exactly. The wrong way, the defensive, fixed pie way, is to immediately argue about the bug. Yeah, but the bug only affects one customer, the AI feature helps everyone, and boom, you lost control. You're now in a tactical firefight about a bug, and your strategic AI vision is completely sidelined. They set the frame problem first.
So before the but means you just ignore the but. That feels kind of rude, or like you're dodging the issue.
It feels super counterintuitive, and that's why it works so well. The right way is to completely ignore the but and laser focus on the positive thing they said before it. Lean in, genuinely. Say, thank you, I'm really thrilled the AI vision resonates with you. That's great feedback. Can I ask, what specifically about it do you find most compelling? What part excites you the most?
Whoa. Okay, so you force them to switch gears
Mhm.
from criticism back to endorsement.
Precisely. It's a psychological judo move. You force them to switch from a critical, problem-focused mindset back to a constructive, positive one. Now they have to spend the next minute or two articulating why your vision is great. They're essentially reselling themselves on your idea, reinforcing its value in their own mind.
They become your advocate in that moment.
Exactly. You've shifted the dynamic from conflict back to collaboration without a fight. Then, once that strategic alignment is reaffirmed, you can calmly circle back. Okay, now, about that critical bug for Megacorp. Absolutely, we need to address that. Given the strategic importance of the AI vision you just highlighted, ensuring our foundation is stable is paramount. Let's figure out how to prioritize that fix.
So it's not dodging, it's sequencing. Get agreement on the big positive vision first, then tackle the tactical problem within that context. That's smart. It grows the pie by making sure everyone agrees on the most valuable part first.
And that flows right into technique number 4, this strategic reframe. This is all about keeping control of the narrative, especially under pressure, and always pulling the conversation back up to strategic outcomes, not just tactical outputs. Be the leader setting the agenda, not just reacting.
I think I've felt this one in action. Like when an exec tries to pin you down. Will it ship by end of quarter? Yes or no? And you need to pull it back to the why. Shift from when to what value are we delivering?
That's the classic scenario. Exec review, pressure's on, they demand. This seems complex. Are you absolutely sure it ships Q4? Yes or no? The wrong way. Get defensive, mumble excuses. Or worse, commit to a date you know is shaky, or dive into technical leads. You've let them trap you at the output level.
Right. And then you either miss the date and lose credibility or kill your team hitting an arbitrary deadline, maybe shipping crap. Lose-lose.
Totally. The right way. Strategic reframe. Acknowledge the question, but pivot immediately. Elevate. Bridge back to strategy, you say. That's a really important question about the timeline, definitely something we're tracking closely. But stepping back, the core issue here isn't just hitting a specific date, right? It's whether we're making the smartest investment to really solve our customer retention problem long term. Frankly, the biggest risk isn't slipping by 2 weeks. The biggest risk is building the wrong thing or something that doesn't actually move the retention needle. So let's talk for a minute about how we're de-risking that outcome, ensuring this delivers maximum impact.
Nice. Not evasive, but assertive. Value-focused. You shifted them from a tactical date to the strategic outcome solving retention, managing risk. You took the wheel back, guided the conversation back to value. That is product leadership, setting the agenda, not just taking questions.
It's the hallmark of a mature leader. Proactively shaping the discussion, not just reacting. You use any tactical question as a springboard back to the strategic why.
Yeah.
It reinforces the value, keeps everyone focused on the bigger pie, the real business goal. It shows you're not just managing a schedule, you're stewarding the product's future.
Okay, these are powerful conversational tools.
Yeah.
Reframing, leveraging psychology. But I'm guessing there's a hurdle for a lot of us product leaders to actually use them effectively, especially when the pressure's on. Which brings us to number 5. Dealing with the fear of no.
Yes. This might be the most fundamental barrier of all.
Yeah.
For product managers, for anyone in influencing roles, really. The fear of saying no, or maybe even more, the fear of hearing no, it's huge.
Where does it come from? Wanting to be liked,
Cooperative.
all of that. Wanting to be seen as the team player, the can-do person. Wanting to avoid disappointing people, stakeholders, execs, your team. But that fear, that deep aversion to rejection, it cripples effective negotiation. It makes it impossible to truly grow the pie. If you can't say no, you're not leading. You're just accommodating. It feels so ingrained, doesn't it? Product managers are supposed to be the facilitators, the problem solvers. Saying no feels like failure, or being difficult, or burning bridges, especially as someone senior.
It absolutely feels that way. And that internal script, that perception, it needs to be actively challenged. You have to build the no muscle consciously. The tactic is surprisingly simple, but really effective. Practice saying no in low-stakes situations. And just as key, practice hearing it and noticing the world doesn't end.
How? Like ask for crazy things.
Kind of. Make a slightly absurd but polite request to a colleague, will likely say no. Hey, could you grab me a specific pastry from that place across town, but only if it's warm? Or yeah, ask for a tiny discount on your coffee, somewhere you normally wouldn't. The point isn't to be obnoxious. It's pure desensitization. Get used to the feeling of asking and being declined or declining yourself.
Okay, that sounds awkward.
Yeah.
But the goal is just to get over the emotional sting of no.
Exactly. Build resilience. It's not about becoming negative. It's about understanding what no actually means. And here's the liberating discovery you make. No is rarely personal. It's rarely fatal. Very often, it's not the end of the conversation. It's the start of a real, honest one.
How so?
When you say no to a feature request, you're not rejecting the person. You're saying yes to strategic focus. You're saying yes to protecting resources for the most impactful work. You're opening the door to a deeper conversation. Okay, I can't do that specific thing right now because of these strategic priorities. Let's talk about the underlying problem you're trying to solve. Maybe there's another way.
So being comfortable with no actually enables the friendly question mark. It lets you push back constructively, demand clarity, hold the line on strategy, which ultimately leads to better products because you're not just saying yes to everything out of fear.
It empowers you, it builds confidence, and it fosters psychological safety too. If the leader can say no clearly and respectfully, it signals that honest conversations about trade-offs are okay, encouraged even.
Right. The team sees that prioritization is real, not just lip service. It stops people from just accepting things they know are bad ideas out of fear. It lets you protect the team's focus, maybe the most valuable resource we have. Being able to say no unlocks your ability to say a truly powerful yes to the right things.
Precisely. It moves you from being a request taker to a strategic guide.
Okay, so we've covered these 5 big techniques. BATNA for options, friendly question mark for needs, before the pup, but for reframing, strategic reframe for elevation, and practice the no for confidence. How do they all weave together? How do they form a coherent system for product leadership? What's the big transformation here?
They absolutely build on each other. They're not just a random list, they're interconnected. Your BATNA gives you the inner confidence to use the other tools effectively. The friendly question mark gathers the intel you need to frame the conversation and potentially identify better alternatives. Before the but and strategic reframe let you control the narrative, keeping focus on value. And practicing no is the bedrock. It gives you the courage to deploy the others without flinching. Without comfort with no, your BATNA is just a bluff. Your questions might lead to overcommitment. Your reframes might fall flat.
So if you're okay with no, you can ask genuinely curious questions without fearing the answer might force your hand. If you have a solid BTA, you can reframe strategically, knowing you have a fallback. It becomes this virtuous cycle of confident, value-driven leadership.
Absolutely. And the transformation is huge. You stop being just a project manager juggling scarce resources, constantly reacting. You become a true product leader, a strategic force multiplier, someone who actively creates value by expanding what's possible for everyone, stakeholders, team, customers, the whole company. You shift from being a gatekeeper of scarcity to an architect of abundance.
And what does that look like on the ground? What's the ripple effect in the organization? Because this has to translate to business results.
Oh, the effects are tangible. First, way more collaboration. Stakeholders see you're not fighting them, you're partnering with them to find bigger wins. Second, much better strategic alignment. Conversations constantly snap back to outcomes, to shared goals, not siloed squabbles, and ultimately, more successful products. Because you're solving the right problems efficiently with the whole organization's brainpower unlocked. You're not just playing within the lines, you're redrawing the lines, creating new space for everyone.
That's a really powerful shift. From perpetual struggle to value creation. We started with that tense Q3 meeting, everyone fighting for their slice. And what we've unpacked is that the biggest lever a product leader has isn't just what you build, but how you enable the whole organization to build together. The goal isn't dividing the pie, it's growing it exponentially.
It changes the entire game, from tactical juggling to strategic impact, unlocking potential you didn't even realize was there.
So here's something to think about, a provocative thought for you as you continue your own deep dives. If this fixed pie fallacy is so rampant in product, where else is it hiding in your organization? What other fixed pies are limiting growth, limiting collaboration beyond just dev resources? Where are those hidden chances to bake a bigger pie for everyone? Maybe in areas you haven't even thought of as fixed.
Yeah, think beyond roadmaps. Think organizational structure, internal processes, how budgets really get allocated, even how you develop talent. These principles apply way more broadly. They can foster a culture of possibility everywhere.
We'd genuinely love to hear your experiences on this. Has you bumped up against the fixed pie fallacy? More importantly, how have you managed to grow the pie in your leadership role? Share your stories, your challenges, your wins. Let's keep this conversation going. You can find us and connect with the community wherever you usually engage with the deep dive.
Yeah, your real-world insights are invaluable. They help all of us learn. Looking forward to hearing from you.
And that brings us to the end of this debrief. Our goal is to give you not just ideas, but a more powerful way to think. If you found value in this discussion, the best way to support this work is to give this episode a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future session. And if you know a fellow product leader who is wrestling with these same challenges, feel free to share this episode with them. As always, you can find the link to the original in-depth article by Karsten Schwarzkopf directly in the description below. Thank you for your time and your attention. Stay sovereign.